In this video, I'm gonna share with you how I manage my money as a freelance and how I make sure that I never miss a payment, never run out of cash, and most importantly, when the freelancer's best friend shows up once a year, I make sure that his big bag of money is ready to give to him so that he can take my fair share contribution and invest it in the development and growth of our beautiful country. That's the taxman. Just before we jump into the video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button so that you get notified whenever I publish a new video about personal finance, self-improvement or positive mindset. As a freelance, I work with 2, 3, sometimes even 4 different clients, and in general I get paid once a week. But sometimes I get paid twice a week, or other times I get paid every 2 weeks. All of course depending on my clients and depending on the day I perform the services. If you are not always on the top of your game, it can become very overwhelming just to find out which clients exactly paid you, which didn't pay you, or if you work for the same clients but on different days. Did he pay you for all the shifts or just part of the work you've done? So the solution that I found is to keep an agenda on my phone when I write down on the specific day who I worked for and how much did I charge for my services. So let's say on the 15th of May I worked for my client Alpha and I charge him X amount of money. This way I know exactly how much my day is worth, and secondly, if I notice that anything is wrong with my payment, I can quickly go back to my agenda and see if the payment that I receive matches what I wrote. That is the first thing that I do after I finish my workday. The second thing that I do is that I check my payment weekly and I match them to the works I've done during that week, so that if there is anything wrong or there is a payment missing, I can quickly contact my client and rectify the issue. I do this once a week and not once a month, because once a week, if I find an issue, it's very easy for my client to find a solution. On the contrary, if I would do that only once a month, let's say I've checked it once a month and I realized that a payment from like almost 28 days ago was missing, it will be very hard for my client to find exactly why that payment was missing. I'll contact him, tell, hey mate, you know, like you didn't pay me for this day, and it would be very hard for him to figure it out. Contrarily, if I would contact him, let's say today we are Monday, and I contact him about a shift that I didn't got paid for last Tuesday, I'd say, mate, you didn't pay me last Tuesday. He can say, oh yeah, really sorry, I had a day off and I forgot to delegate your payment to someone, but don't worry, I will do it right now for you, we'll be in for next week, and your payment will enter faster if you sort out these issues weekly compared to monthly. So now that I've checked my payment, the third step is to take care of my best friend, the tax man. You see, it's very tempting to see into your bank account as a freelance and think that all the money that is in that bank account is actually your money, but it's not. A certain percentage has to go toward tax. And if you don't save for your taxes, what will happen when once a year the taxman knocks on your door, you will have no money to give him. And he will say, you know what, don't worry, pay me later, but I will charge you some interest on it. I know this because I've learned it the hard way. The first year I started as self-employed, I didn't take care of my taxes. I just left them there and forgot that I have to save for it, and when the taxman arrived, I didn't have any money to give him. And I started to pay interest on it. But the real problem is not the interest. The real problem now is that I had to save to pay for that year that I didn't pay for, which is last year, but I had to save for this year as well, plus the interest. So I had to save twice as much money, plus the interest, just to balance my finances. I learned it the hard way, but it was worth it. And to avoid the same mistakes again, what I do now is that every time I receive a payment, a certain percentage got automatically moved to another saving account that is for the taxman, and I forget about it. After this step, now I'm actually looking at my money. I can see my bank account, I can see, yeah, that is all mine. Now what I do is that I split that money into 5 different chunks. The first chunk, I leave it in my main bank account. And from that bank account, I make the payments that are fixed payment or necessary payments, like my car finance, my fuel, my pension, this kind of stuff. So how I do it is that before I move the money to another account or moving them to the other account, I calculate how much I need, and I know every month how much I need to keep in that bank account, and I keep it there. And the rest I move it to other bank accounts. The second chunk goes into the second bank account, which is my housing bank account. From there goes out the expenses for my house. The rent, the bills like electricity, water, food that I eat at home, this kind of stuff. The reason I separate them in these 2 bank accounts is to not overspend. Because at home I have the fixed expenses, but also I have those expenses like food that I can control, better quality stuff or lower quality stuff that I can control. So I know exactly how much money I move monthly to that bank account. I do that month after month. The same same amount of money goes there, and I know that that is my budget and I have to fit in it. The third part of the money, which is a smaller chunk, goes into a prepaid account of mine, and I use it for my daily expenses at work, like coffee, water, food, whatever I buy at work. I don't like to do meal preps, I don't know why, I never got used to it. So basically I buy my food at work. The reason I keep this bank account is of course to see how much I spend. This bank account, this prepaid bank account is called Revolut and it's very smart. I can see exactly how much I spent in a day, how much I spent in a week, how much I spent in a month, so that if there is anything wrong, I spent too much, let's say, on food, I can cut a bit on that or cut on the coffee so that I can fit into my budget. I will leave a link in the description for the Revolut card in case you are interested. Now, the fourth account that I use is usually the account from where the unnecessary stuff goes out from. The things that I don't really need, like online shopping or eating out in a restaurant or going out or this kind of expenses basically. I don't have a specific budget for it, it has to be as little as possible. The main reason why I have this account is to link it with my online stores, like Amazon or any other stores where I would like to buy. When I want to buy something, instead of clicking that buy button and just have it delivered and then regret it, I actually put an extra step, which is I have to send the money from my bank account to that bank account and then I can buy. This comes from the science of breaking a bad habit. To do that, you need to put as much steps between you and your bad habit as possible. So if I'm tempted to buy something, I have to go first, move the money from my bank account into the other bank account and then buy it, which is an extra step, which most of the time makes me spend less money. Last but definitely not least, the fifth chunk of the money goes into my saving account, because that's the most important account I have. I try always to put as a big chunk as possible. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes less, but I always make sure to save every month. And to reward you for staying so long into this video, I will give you 2 extra tips that are necessary for every freelance. My first tip is to always keep £1,000, euros or dollars, wherever you live, into your bank account for emergency situations. Because if you have a flat tire or anything else can happen, you don't want to dig into your savings. I consider my zero, like in the bank account, my zero is actually £1,000. In other words, I never let my account go below 1,000. So if there is an emergency situation, I'm always prepared with cash. The second tip, and the most important one, is that as a freelance, you need to have in your saving enough money to make you survive at least 3 months, if not 6. That's your emergency fund that you never touch, unless something happens. Because I think that freelancing comes with great advantages, especially freedom, I think is the main advantage. But that freedom has a cost, and the cost of it is not getting a sick pay if you break your leg. So if you break your leg, you cannot work for 1 month or 2 months. Unless you have an emergency fund, you will be in big troubles. And I don't know when, guys, you are watching this video, but right now we are in the middle of coronavirus in the UK. There are a lot of freelance people that are actually waiting on the government to get help with money, and they still have to wait 2 months until they will receive any money. Those who don't have any savings are in big trouble. So if you are a freelance or thinking of becoming one, the first thing that you should do is save for that emergency fund. It will pay off sooner or later. Finally, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.